Okay, so you want to learn about frozen shoulder. I did too. Be honest, it sounds kind of crazy. It almost doesn't even sound real. And I think that's one of the problems, that people think, what is frozen shoulder? Like, how bad could that really be? But the truth is, this is excruciatingly painful for women going through perimenopause and the menopause years. But to understand this and to really get what's going on, we got to take a step back. So let's go back to birth. All right, let's just take a minute and think. When she's born, she's got 1 to 2 million eggs in her ovaries. And those eggs are supported by a hormone called estrogen. Now, here's how this is going to work. By the time she hits puberty, and by the way, I should have taken a step back and just said, she doesn't make any more of those eggs, right? She just only gets what she's born with, and that's the end of it. And they start declining every day since birth, year after year after year. All right, so she gets to puberty, and she went from 1 to 2 million down to 300, maybe 500,000. Puberty starts to hit, you know what that's about. And then as she gets into her 30s, she's losing thousands of these and thousands of these every single month. Then she ends up getting to menopause. And menopause is the one day after 12 months, or the day of 12 months since her last period. By then, she's lost 99% of the amount of estrogen in her body that she had when she was 25. Wait a minute, what's estrogen? Why are we talking? I thought we were just talking about eggs. We were, but here's the thing. Estrogen is the hormone that supports the eggs. So as she's losing those eggs, she's also losing this key hormone that supports them. Now, what is estrogen and why does that matter? And we're gonna get to frozen shoulder. Estrogen matters because, amongst many things, and it truly does do many things, it affects literally every physical aspect and mental aspect of a woman's body. It is a natural lubricant in her body. So think about it this way. She's losing these eggs, she's losing this hormones, which means she's losing moisture in the skin. So she's getting itchy skin, dry skin, things like that, even dry vagina, which makes sex hurt. But on top of that, she's also losing this natural lubricant. And when she loses this natural lubricant, her joints start to get inflamed. They start to swell. They start to lock up. They start to seize. She really, out of nowhere, and I think this is something that men don't totally understand, it is kind of out of nowhere for women. Sure, there's a decline that takes place over a bit of a period of time, but the truth is there is a point where a woman just starts to see these, like frozen shoulder, hot flashes, anxiety spikes, all of these things that are actually all due to this loss of estrogen do kind of just come out of nowhere. So it's important to understand that. So she wakes up one day and her shoulder hurts. Doesn't really understand what's going on. It's a little bit stiff, starts to get worse. Why? Well, she's not making any more of these eggs, which means the estrogen levels are continuing to decline, which means the swelling and the inflammation is continuing to grow. So now it gets to the point where there's 3 defined phases of this frozen shoulder. And the first phase is the freezing phase. And this is going to be about under a year, and it's excruciatingly painful. It's the most painful phase of them all, and she's got stiffness. It's like you can't lift your arm over your head. You're in a lot of pain. She's starting to panic and freak out about this. Then it gets into the frozen phase. The pain starts to become a little bit more dull. It's less sharp, excruciating pain, though it still can be. But the stiffness is now worse. So now she can't even put her arms behind her back to strap her bra. We've got women that don't even put one bra strap up because they just can't even do it. We're talking about daily activities here. Showering, brushing your hair, maybe brushing your teeth, lifting anything, especially kids. These are all going to be very, very hard. And that goes on for another year, year and a half. And then there's the thawing phase. And the thawing phase is where the pain starts to subside, the stiffness starts to subside, but still uncomfortable, and this can go on for 1 to 2 years. So I was not great at math. I've sort of lost track, but I'm pretty sure we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 years. 4 years that she could be dealing with this. And by the way, keep in mind, we're still only talking about one symptom of menopause. Of all the things that your wife could be going through, this is just one of them. And she's going through this, by the way. It's not like a cafeteria where you pick and choose, finish one, then get the other one. She's going through these simultaneously. And if you think that the frozen shoulder, which also, by the way, not to digress, but it also leads into frozen hip. Hip's another joint where this is going to happen. Same reason, loss of estrogen, loss of lubricant. Now it's a standing joint. So everything I just described about how she moves her shoulder, now it's a problem when she walks. And then these can happen simultaneously. Gets better. Frozen shoulder can come back. First of all, it's actually not just one shoulder. It often is, but it can be both. So imagine everything I just said, but both shoulders. Then, within 10 years of it first happening, it can actually come back. That's what women are dealing with in menopause right now. That's what the outlook looks like. That's specifically around frozen shoulder. And as she loses this natural lubricant, she's also losing the same hormone that does all of these other things. What are those other things? Glad you asked. Well, here's the truth. When she loses estrogen, another hormone spikes called cortisol. Cortisol is what causes our fight or flight response. It's what causes anxiety in all of us. This is spiking for her now more than it ever has because of these declining levels. On top of that, it fluctuates the most at night. Isn't that convenient? Isn't it nice that it worked out that way, that when she's going to have this fluctuating hormone that's going to cause all these problems, that it actually happens at night? It's great. So now she's losing sleep, insomnia, brain fog, memory loss. The mood swings you're dealing with, those mood swings, by the way, those are because estrogen affects the area of the brain that regulates mood. But it's also because if you weren't sleeping for as long as a woman isn't sleeping because she's losing this estrogen, you'd probably be a little bit moody, don't you think? I mean, listen, guys, this actually isn't that hard to understand. When you start to realize that these are hormonal changes she's going through that are literally out of her control, you start to realize, well, yeah, it's hard for us too, right? It's hard for us to see what she's going through. We might be on the receiving end of some of the frustration and the pain that she's in, but she's going through it. That's what you got to remember.